You can't hear that, can you? You're talking away.
No, I can't. What are you playing the intro?
Yeah, hang on a second. Can you hear this?
The Brand X podcast.
Now I hear it.
Okay.
Now I hear it.
I'm over here. I'm like,
what the fuck is he doing? What the fuck is
playing this thing and you're talking away. I'm like, he obviously can't.
Aren't you just a chatty Cathy?
I tell you, we're hell on wheels getting this thing started. It's like back in the old days when you had an old whoopty car and you had to push it down the road and pop the clutch. That's what it's like trying to start this fucking podcast. Okay. I need a breath. I'm wound up like a like a toy mouse. I'll teach you to drink beer when I'm trying to do something.
What are you like? Look at him. Oh, fucking relax drinking beer. Fuck him.
I see the beer up to your mouth. I'm like, watch this. Oh my God. I can't see. I'm crying. Here we go.
Good.
The Brand X podcast is sponsored by Audio Editing Solutions. Editing your podcast just not your thing? Go to audioeditingsolutions.com and see how affordable professional audio editing can be.
Welcome to the Brand X podcast. I'm John.
And I am Deuce, finishing up my vacation.
Oh, yeah. You went to Carlisle, the Corvette show. I saw pictures.
Yes, my yearly trip. It's like a pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and as usual, it was 1 trillion degrees. So it's never Carlisle unless it's really, really hot.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the same thing around here for the 4-H fair that we used to go to when my oldest daughter was riding horses. It was always like you like melted your skin off your body, hot and humid.
Yeah. It's have you ever been to, I mean, I know you're not a fat guy, but have you ever been to Carlisle?
No, I've never been out there.
Okay, because they do like 7-8 shows a year just for the car hobby. Mm-hmm. And they have all Chryslers, they have all Ford, all GM, they do trucks, they do kit cars, specialty interests, they do a lot of stuff, and they also do like furniture antique shows. But the Corvettes at Carlisle show is their biggest, and in fact, they added a 4th day this year. They started it on Thursday, and it ran until Sunday. We just took a day trip this year. Usually, we were up there for a couple of days, and it was a lot of fun. It was like funny. We went up there with friends for the day trip,
mm-hmm.
and they got really, really clean facilities. They really do. And as you know, all the ladies, when they go to the restroom, they have to go in a pack.
That's true.
So Diane and 3 other ladies went to the restroom, and they wiped their bathrooms down. They have attendants in there. So
when you first started talking, I didn't know where you were going with that.
Well,
you're like, they wipe. I'm like, whoa.
They wipe. Those bathrooms are immaculate. Which for
right.
the sheer amount of people, I mean, they get like 30,000 people. Well, that's an exaggeration. They probably get about 15,000 people, but they get about 7,000 Corvettes over the 3 days.
Right.
And those bathrooms are immaculate. So Diane is in there, and the attendant is like looking at her, and she says, "You look like Sally Field." And Diane, she gets that quite often, and she says, "Well, yeah, I hear that all the time and everything." I said, "No, you really, really look like Sally Field." And Diane laughs, ha ha ha, and she takes care of business and she walks out, and the attendant leans over to one of the other girls that went up with us, and she says, "I don't care what she says. I think that really is Sally Fields." So it was like kind of, funny. This woman in the bathroom really thinks that she helped out Sally Fields. So because she like leaned over real quiet and serious to like our friend Barb and goes, "I don't care what she says. I think she is Sally Fields."
Now, listen, I've known Diane a long time. I mean, there's maybe a slight resemblance, but there's no way that Diane looks like Sally Fields. Okay.
She gets it quite often.
I understand that, but
Sally Fields is getting older, so.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Well, she's getting older.
Wise guy?
Wise guy? What's that supposed to mean? But it was just like Diane didn't even know that she had said that until our friend Barb came out of the bathroom and told her that. She was like torn. I think she really wanted to ask for an autograph. I said, you can make some extra money. Go for it.
Yeah, just go in there and start signing autographs.
Just
Sally
be a
Field.
poser. Just be a.
There you
Well,
go.
it's a hot day. You got the hat on and everything. So, I guess when you spend all your time in a bathroom, I don't know, maybe people start to resemble other people. What can I tell you?
Maybe it's
Yeah,
could be, very possibly.
We thought it was a humorous story. Sorry you didn't think so.
No, I thought it was humorous. I didn't say it wasn't humorous. I just said I don't think she looks like that much. I don't think she looks that much like Sally Fields, where the ladies. I'm not saying that she didn't say it.
Well, it's a short, high-pitched voice thing, I guess.
Maybe she sounds okay. The whole package. Okay, maybe I'll go with you for that.
The perpetual smile.
There you go. I got you. All right, I understand now.
Even in a bad mood, she smiles. Diane, it is not.
Not Sally Fields. We don't know what Sally Fields does when she's in a bad mood.
Right.
To be quite honest with you. Hey, I got a question for you. Did you ever play fantasy football?
No, my son is the expert on that. He plays.
He plays.
Football is his forte. He does football he knows and understands and comprehends football the way I do Corvettes. That was his calling. That's his passion.
Okay. So for the longest time, I've never played fantasy football. Matter of fact, back in the day before there was fantasy football, they used to do pools, and you'd have to pick you have to pick 4 winners. And I would never win. There was always one. And I'm the worst when it comes to gambling or something like that, like picking teams. I'm the worst. I'm the worst at it. So much so that I stopped completely gambling on sports, even pools, even if it was only for $5. It didn't mean anything because it would aggravate me so bad. It would just ruin the day for me. Like I'd be like, okay, I've got the Eagles versus the Cowboys, and I've got the Eagles and 7 points. And them suckers would lose by 8. Right. So it'd be crazy. I would lose or whatever it was. I would lose by a point. So anyhow, last week I was thinking about trying to play fantasy football, and I even put it out there. I said, "Hey, if anybody's got a fantasy football league and needs a body, I've never played before. I'd like to try." And one of the podcasts I listen to, Couple Things podcast, they're having a fantasy football league and they're going to include some of the listeners. Now I've listened to the Couple Things podcast since they've started. I forget how many. They're over 70 something. I don't know how many episodes they have, but they've been doing it for over a year now.
Right.
So anyhow, so here we go.
Ba-da-ba-ba. Do-do, do-do. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Do-do, do-do.
That's right. It's football season.
Oh, no.
I'm so excited.
So I said, hey, I'll do it. And they said,
that was pretty good.
That was pretty good. Now that's Ben and Ray from Couples Thing podcast. And oh no, that was Michelle. That's Ray's wife. So Couple Things podcast is Ray Laughlin, his wife, Michelle von Hertzberg, and Ben and Molly Mendenhall. They're very close friends. And they started a podcast where they take 4 topics, whatever topic it is, and they talk about it barroom style. I like the show. I like the show. So anyhow, I'm in. So I'm going to be playing fantasy football. Now, here's the thing about fantasy football. When it first came out, there was no internet or anything like that, so you'd have to go to a place, and you would have a draft, and you'd have to write things down, and then you would have to write your team down, and you'd have to email back and forth, even if there was email back then. So now you go to ESPN, they run a fantasy football league. It's all online. You pick everything. It's easy peasy. Right. None of this nonsense. You pick players, and it does the score for you. It's like automatic bowling score. You don't have to figure out how to carry pins over.
It's funny that you mention that because back when I had my store and I had all those magazines, like you said, there was no internet. And back then, you had the magazines would come in. And there was literally probably like 10 or 11 publications. And I had to get them all in because all the people that were in the fantasy football would come in and buy them and pour over the stats and and look at the schedules. And it was really, really a labor of love if there was one. And now with the internet, it's got to be 1,000 times easier.
You know, it's funny, even in poker, when I started to learn how to play poker, you go online and you would play, and it would tell you in the bottom right-hand corner what you had. Oh, you have 2 pair, you have a straight, you have a flush, you have a full house. It would tell you what you had. So you kind of knew what you were, what to play. And then what the other thing was, there was no misreading of hands. The computer would say, okay, here's the best hand, and there you go. So I'm excited. I'm excited to play. I don't know how I'm going to do.
You want help?
There's supposed to be 12 other places, 12 other spots.
Right.
So I'll be doing that for the next 15 weeks. We go through a draft in like 8 days. There's going to be a draft. And I've been reading up on it and looking at websites and figuring out, who I should pick. So I'm pretty excited about fantasy football. I never got a chance to play before, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, a little baptism by fire.
Yeah, just jump right in.
That's the best way to learn, I found.
I agree. Well, I just noticed this like a couple minutes before we went on and started to record, but we got to pour one out. Gene Wilder. Yeah. How do you say his last name?
Wilder.
Wilder. It's funny. They say, Gene Wilder from Willy Wonka and Young Frankenstein. But I think his best movie, or what my favorite movie was in, was Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, he was.
And they don't even want to mention Blazing Saddles right now.
No, it's so un-PC that they just kind of bury that.
But it's so funny.
Yeah,
I can't watch it. I can't watch it on regular TV, or unless it's on like a premium channel where they're going to play the full version, then I'll sit down and watch it. But, I mean, it says, in Blazing Saddles, a raunchy, no-holds-barred spoof of Hollywood Westerns, Mr. Wilder has a relatively quiet role as the Waco Kid, a boozy ex-gunfighter who helps improbable black sheriff Clavon Little save a town from the railroad barons and venial politicians. So, and I liked him also in Young Frankenstein. I thought he was really good.
Did you ever see, I'm a big Wilder fan. He was brilliant in just everything he did. But did you ever see the original producers from 1968 with Zero Mostel?
No, I did not see.
Springtime for Hitler. You never saw that one?
Springtime for Hitler?
What it was, the premise of the show was Zero Mostel was a Broadway producer.
Okay.
And he had a knack for just producing terrible plays. And Gene Wilder is an accountant sent by an office to look at the books. And while he's looking at the books, Gene Wilder is just innocently musing like, well, gee, theoretically you could make more money from a hit than with a flop than when you can with a hit. And Zero Mostel pops up. So what they do is they get all these investors to put money up for a show, and the play that they're going to produce is called Springtime for Hitler. Okay, again, it's a Mel Brooks movie, and again, it's probably very un-PC. They did do a remake of it with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Little, I think, a few years ago on Broadway.
Okay.
And it was a smash. I mean, I think they updated it. I don't know if they said it in 1968 again, or if they updated it, that I don't know. But it is hysterical. They're doing the numbers. Well, unbeknownst to them, I don't want to give too much away, but they thought they raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce this, intending it for it to close in one night, and they get to keep all the money. Well, it becomes a hit.
I was offended, and I have rights.
So this thing becomes such a huge hit, and they're like, well, what do we got? Now we got to pay all this money out to all of our investors. So they're going to, you have to go see the movie. I've given basically more away than I wanted to, but it's a brilliant movie. I think anything that Mel Brooks did was, ingenious.
Yes.
And Gene Wilder was instrumental in that. He was really a comedic genius. I mean, the term is used so much now, but Gene Wilder really was. His sense of timing, how he played things, he was really, really brilliant.
I can't believe it's 83. I mean,
yeah, I thought he was younger than that.
Yeah, so do I.
I mean, I figured he was in his 70s. He married Gilda Radner from Saturday Night Live, and she died. He took that pretty hard when she passed away.
Yeah.
She died pretty young.
Yeah, she did. She had, I think it was breast cancer. Or
ovarian cancer, I believe.
Okay. And she passed away. And did he remarry again? I don't know if he ever remarried or not.
think he may have, because I caught a snippet of an interview with him today watching, and I believe that he did. But I've often wondered why he never really made any movies.
Not after that.
Quite a number of. I mean, I can't think of anything he's been in for at least 20 years.
Yeah, maybe he just made enough money and he just decided to just hang out and enjoy life.
Because he was like Richard Pryor was like his.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did
his
with Richard
comedic partner. He made a couple of movies with Richard Pryor, and then Richard Pryor got MS, and he dropped out of. And then eventually he passed away, sadly. And then Gene Wilder, you never really
heard from him.
Him and Richard Pryor in Stir Crazy,
yes,
was probably one of the funniest movies. It's like up there to me. It's up there with like Caddyshack, where you could watch it,
yeah,
and stop it and play it again, and you'll laugh just as hard as you did the first time around.
No, I agree with that.
It was just a funny movie. But Blazing Saddles, by far and away,
I can't if it's on and it's the full version. That's one I have to sit down and watch. The whole, from wherever I see it, whatever part of the movie it's in, I got to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, you'll write it out because it's so good.
Oh, it's hysterical. I mean, some of the best lines in movies where they're going and they say, "We got to slow them down," so they put the toll booth up.
Yeah.
Someone go on back into town. We need a shitload of dimes. It's like my favorite.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Dom DeLuise was the gay director.
Yeah, that was at the very, very end.
You put out your hips, stick out your tongue. Oh, like nowhere to go. You guys understand? Yes. Sounds like steam escaping. It was great. They don't make them like that no more.
They don't. I mean, like even this isn't. We were going back to Mel Brooks, but one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies was Spaceballs with John Candy and Rick Moranis, and
I think they were the two only big stars in that movie.
I know, but they had like all B movie stars, and they were well-known B movie stars. Like,
yeah, they were.
When he goes to Plaid, the speed of Plaid, and he goes right by him, and he's hanging on, he's sticking straight out. He says, "Stop this." He goes, "We can't stop. It's going too fast. I order you to stop." And he stops, and he goes and crashes into the console. Oh my God.
I like the young Frankenstein, the whole he was as Dr. Frankenstein.
Right, Frankenstein.
And, he's just the whole part with Marty Feldman. Oh. And he's trying to ask him, like, well, whose brain did we put in there?
Abby someone.
Somebody.
Abby someone.
Are you telling me I put an abnormal brain?
And he's choking him, and he says, he's doing charades.
And they start playing charades.
Three syllables like.
First word sounds like. Terry Garr was funny in that movie.
Yeah.
Too.
It's just one of those classics.
And Cloris Leachman was brilliant. Frau Blucher and the horses.
I wish I was just looking. I was looking for the horse sound, but I don't have a horse sound.
Do you know what the joke was on that?
No.
It was like the anniversary of Young Frankenstein, and Cloris Leachman just went along with it, and she never understood it. And then she saw Mel Brooks decades later, says, what was the joke whenever they would say Frau Blucher, and that the horses would react that way? And here it's because Blucher is German for glue. And so it's like, it's brilliant. Yeah, I didn't know. I just figured it was just like,
I had no idea what it was.
No, it was funny in the movie, but it's even funnier now. You understand it, why the horses acted that way. And the look of disgust that Cloris Leachman would give whenever the horses would react, just like she'd like.
He was my boyfriend.
Boyfriend, say it. Yes, with the violin. Yes, yes, just like playing the thing. It was
smoking a cigar.
And that was your cigar. We saw smoldering in the ashtray. Yes, just the whole. It was, another funny not Gene Wilder, Mel Brooks movie was High Anxiety,
right?
Which was funny as hell. And Harvey Korman was, all these people were like hysterically funny. It's a shame that they're all gone now. And,
right.
No one really, just their whole acumen, the way they did things.
Yeah, they can't make funny movies, or they can't make movies anymore. They're going back and remaking all the old movies, which just annoys me to no end, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Well, television and movies, it seems like they've run out of ideas. It's just that they reboot things, and like they rebooted Hawaii Five-0. I don't even know if that's even still in the air anymore.
It's still on there. I watch that every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's okay, but it's not like the old one.
Yeah, it's just like ever since that writer's strike a few years ago, they just they put all their dollars in the so-called reality TV shows, and they're really not. Genghis said about reality TV shows, how can they call this? Or I've never been marooned on a desert island, and I've never been forced to live with 8 strangers. You know what reality is? You pick up your lunch pail and you drive to work and you punch a time clock. That's reality. And he was right.
That is
As
true.
Always.
Yeah.
Reality, but I've never been forced to live with other people.
No one dropped me off on a tropical island and made me eat stuff.
Yeah, just like
Eat rice and catch fish. Where's the reality in that?
Yeah, and he was right. It's not reality. It's unscripted television.
Yeah,
is
that's
what
what
it is. It's not reality.
No, well, they all, it's like any reality TV. They give it like a premise. There's something that happens that, that they react to.
Right. So,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it was just, the wisdom of Genghis always shines through. But poor Gene Wilder, it was like I was really astounded that he was as old as he said. He was suffering from Alzheimer's.
Oh, well, that's probably why he wasn't around anymore.
Which is, well, yeah, but I remember seeing him. I don't even know how many years ago. I remember I would see him like on like the Jay Leno show or
right. But
after
a certain amount of time, it starts getting worse and worse. He can't go out there anymore. He'd drop his pants.
Yeah,
he'd go into character or something. You never can tell with someone on.
Changing the subject now.
I love doing that.
I was waiting for that.
You put an article in here about CNN staging fake satellite interview. And here's what I got to say about news channels and news. Stop it.
Well, just to so
go ahead.
The listeners know what we're talking about here. There was a interview that was supposed to be taking place between Nancy Grace and another reporter, and they were supposed to be doing like these live feeds. And it says CNN caught staging faked satellite interview. And this comes
Ashley
from
Banfield
August the 23rd. Okay. And the 2 suspects are Ashley Banfield of CNN and Nancy Grace of Headline News. At first, it seems like a normal TV remote as Banfield interviews Grace from another location. Then the channel's graphics alert viewers both anchors are in Phoenix. That's odd. Also, they're both outdoors sitting in what looks like to be a parking lot. And is that the same building behind them?
Is that the same car going by one and then going by the other?
Oh, and if you watch the video, it's Jon Stewart pulled this up, and it's funny as hell because as they're doing the interview, they figured that someone did the math on this. They were probably like 30 feet away from each other because you'll see like a bus go by and then the same bus goes by Ashley Banfield. 2 cars go by and it was just like, did they think no one was going to notice it? It was like so
why do that?
Blatantly. I know. I mean, how lazy can you get?
That's not lazy. That's going through. That's like going around the block to go next door. That's putting all kinds of extraordinary things. And just, you know what? Pull your chair up. Pull the 2 chairs up next to each other and have a discussion outside if you're going to do something like that. I don't get it.
It was just like, wow. It's like, what was the point of that? So, I mean, if they're willing to lie about something as simple as this, what else are they lying
That's exactly
about?
my point. Like, I can't watch news now without having such a cynic attitude towards it. And is it true? And what are they... what spin are they putting on there? What are they not covering? Because what's going on that they're not covering that they should be covering? And why aren't they covering that? And is that news?
Exactly. And why did they go through all this? I mean, they were both in Phoenix. Why didn't they just, like you said, just get a big table?
Just pull up the 2 chairs next to each other. Forget about chairs. Forget chairs. Stand next to each other.
Right.
Why is that so hard? I know. We'll put it like we're on satellite.
One of the graphics that you see was they showed like this 30-foot. They said that we didn't. The bus was really like a block and a half long, and like it was a train. And they got the bus like serpentine around the block. It was just it was like just ridiculous. To do it's already an over the top story, so someone made an over the top graphic about it, and it was pretty well played. But I was just like, wow, this is like really bizarre. To file this under truth is stranger than fiction.
So why do that? And then here's the other thing: you're supposed to inform. Like if news is going to be entertainment, then let's treat it as entertainment and not news. Then if it's not going to be news, then you don't have the protection under the Constitution that it should be. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's, if not for it is kind of a serious thing, but the video is hilarious. I mean, you have to watch this video to really appreciate it. The vehicles like are literally disappearing from the one screen and reappearing on the other because they're doing a split screen during the interview. So you'll see the vehicles disappearing off of one and instantly reappearing on the other. It's almost like a Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder scene. It was really, really bizarre. I'm at a loss to explain why they did it, but it's funny as hell. I'm glad they got called out.
Yeah, I just think they're trying to sensationalize the news. And I don't know why. They just made it harder than they really had to be. Oh, they're both in Phoenix. Here you go. They're sitting next to each other, stand next to each other, and have a conversation.
Yeah, what was going on? I don't even know what was going on in Phoenix that they both had to, like, I guess they were doing this as if it was a breaking story. I don't know. I just saw this 40-second maybe video. So I don't even know I wasn't even paying attention to what they were saying. It was just so funny watching the same cars go by.
No, I got you. I hear you. Well, here's a story that they didn't have to fiddle with. And this is actually close to home for us. I didn't realize that this happens as much as it does. A clammer is injured dredging up old bomb. Chowder gets tossed.
Who wants chowder?
Who wants chowder? The chowder's good. A fishing crew apparently pulled up an unexploded ordnance while clamming, leading to a fisherman being hospitalized with second-degree burns and destruction of more than 700 cases of chowder. It was unclear the ordnance was, but the fishing vessel along the Atlantic coast routinely dredges up munitions, including mustard agent that were dumped in the sea decades ago when the environmental laws were far more lax. Injured fishermen were treated at the hospital in Philadelphia for burns and blisters, said U.S. Coast Guard Petty Officer Seth Johnson. Such injuries are consistent with mustard gas agents exposure. So here's these guys. They're out, dredging for clams, and they pull everything up, and then all of a sudden, I guess they dropped all the clams on the deck, and let's see. Back when I was in 5th grade, a friend of mine was down the river here in Delaware, and he found like an unexploded bombshell. I guess it was like it wasn't a bomb, but it was more like a mortar shell or something like that. And of course, when you're in 5th grade, what do you do when you see something that's unexploded?
Bring that to school?
No, you pick up a rock and you hit it.
Oh, okay.
Same thing. And he was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and his finger went, he had this pinky made a right-hand turn.
Oh.
And they had to get anything? They had to get shrapnel out of him and stuff like that. He's still fine. I mean, he went in, he was a Marine. And
so he didn't lose any body parts?
No.
Wow, he's lucky.
Yeah, he was very lucky. But he went and served as a Marine and, got out. And I don't know what he's doing right now. I think he's a welder for somebody. But I still see him on Facebook, and he's still doing pretty good. But you got to be careful because back then they had all these munitions, and they didn't know what to do with them, so they dropped them in the water. Do you know that somewhere in Georgia there's a nuclear bomb that fell out of a plane or something, or the plane went down with it in there, and it's somewhere in the swamps? They've never been able to find it. They've tried all kinds of different, like a lot of stuff they're finding now with Google, like the satellites and everything, like Google Maps and Google Earth. They're finding a lot of stuff like that. They can't find that. So here, somewhere out in Georgia, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be clamming out in Georgia. That would be one heck of an explosion.
Pretty amazing, really. I know in France there's a lot of unexploded munitions from 2 world wars because France was constantly conquered by the Germans. It's what they do.
That's a French rifles. Never shot and only dropped once.
That's it. But like in the Ardennes and then, of course, on the beaches of Normandy and everything, there's still a lot of because they mined miles and miles of, territory to keep, your adversaries from sneaking up. And so between the Germans mining beaches and woods and forests and the bays and the harbors and whatever, it's just, and then of course the Allies are doing the same thing. So that's a real huge issue on continental Europe.
Right. And I think in Africa too, they have a problem, or in Southeast Asia, where they've mined, back from the Vietnam War and all that stuff. They had all these minefields and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
And these kids, that was back in the 80s. That was one of Princess Diana's charities where, she would go, because there was kids out there, they're out there playing or something. And of course, they step on a mine and, they lose an arm or a leg or get killed.
Right.
So, yeah, here you are in the beach in Normandy. You go to put your beach umbrella in. You go to sink it in the sand, and
that was Paul McCartney's last wife's cause too. She lost her leg somehow. I'm not sure she lost it to a mine though.
I know she lost a leg because I used to watch Dancing with the Stars on her just to see if it would fly off one time during a dance routine.
I didn't even know she was on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I think she may have had that in an accident. Like a motorcycle accident or something like that. But I know that was one of her causes.
Well, I'll tell you what, that sucker was on there because they did some really crazy dance moves. At one time, they were doing like cartwheels where they would do a cartwheel, like the two of them, and never flew off, never lost their leg. So
he says industrial staples or something.
I don't know what they put it on there with. Polygrip.
No, just like super polygrip. And how stupid was Paul McCartney not signing a prenup? Just throwing that out there. So
I guess goodness.
He got that much money. I guess he figured, the chick's got one leg. She's a gimp. What am I going to do?
Where's she going?
Yeah, so it's like, I got to set her up. Right. So,
well, she's not as smart as Yoko Ono. Yoko Ono got all of John's money.
Yeah, she or it's not so much how smart was Yoko Ono, but how dumb was John Lennon. Sorry, the Dragon Lady isn't my cup of tea. So,
no, me neither.
No, she doesn't exactly melt my butter. She melted John's butter, I guess, but she
must have been able to suck a golf ball through 20 foot of garden hose, as far as I know.
Well, I think she might have been a Quaker.
A
Quaker.
Stop
because
it. An Asian Quaker?
Because when she got hit with the ugly stick, she turned the other cheek. Oh!
Oh, my God.
Didn't see that one coming.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, my work here.
Well, she's as talented as she is attractive. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. That Double Fantasy album is a nightmare. You just take all the Yoko tracks right off of that. It'd be a single. From back in the day at DBK.
Back in the day at DBK.
Break out the single.
I hear you. So there's only one Howard Johnson's left?
Yeah, I saw that in the news. I thought that they just weren't maybe in this part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so this came up, and hopefully no video will play. Okay, good. Because you never know. And America's Last Howard Johnson prepares for nostalgic visitors. And with its signature orange roof and bright blue signage, Howard Johnson was once the most recognizable symbol of American family dining. The second-to-last roadside eatery in Bangor, Maine, will be closing its doors and frying its last famous clam strips on September the 6th. That closing will leave just one Howard Johnson left open in the U.S., in Lake George, New York. Owner Josh LaRock has said that the once booming restaurant chain is going the way of the dinosaurs, but he's happy to keep serving customers and expects an uptick in business from nostalgic food fans. We are doing very well, especially on the weekends, LaRock told Fox News. We hold 225 people and lines are out the door from 8 to 2 p.m. He says he strives to keep the place as original as he can by still serving clam strips, ice cream, and not serving alcohol. That's okay.
So let me ask you this question. I mean, do you remember eating in a Howard Johnson's?
Yeah, I remember seeing them quite often. I mean,
I
there was
know.
one right here in Blackwood on the
There
on the
was?
Black Horse. Yeah, there's one on the Black Horse Pike. They dotted all over. I wonder if maybe I don't know what happened. It says here Howard Deering Johnson started the chain with a simple soda fountain in his pharmacy in Massachusetts. In 1925, he made history when he cooked up the idea of franchising his orange-roofed eateries, and by the 70s, over 1,000 restaurants were welcoming hungry travelers across the country. 1,000 restaurants is pretty, that's pretty impressive.
Now, there used to be one in Chester, okay?
Camden's sister city.
Exactly. And Chester, PA. And what happened was it was a restaurant and it was also a hotel. So it was a Howard Johnson's Restaurant Hotel.
Right.
Now,
That's how I remember the bulk of them
and it
being.
was open 24 hours. And it was right next to Widener College. So it got a lot of business. But then what happened was I guess it went belly up or they changed it or sold it. And then people from another land took over.
Right.
And then I wouldn't even go in there and get a cup of coffee now, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
But it's still open.
Well, the second to last one that just closes from somebody from another land, and that's the one in Bangor. So, and let's see, there's something. Yeah, but I mean, 1,000 restaurants. I mean, I remember seeing them everywhere. We drove to Florida in 1972.
They were like
and
Stuckies.
we must have stopped in quite a few of them.
You think-
I mean, they were like McDonald's. You saw them everywhere on a main route.
Do you think that like the Waffle House was what put a hurting on them?
I don't know about that because the Waffle Houses, you really don't see them where we're at. I've seen a lot of them in the Poconos and in western Pennsylvania and West by God, Virginia when I traveled.
Well, the closest one to us is in Elkton, Maryland. But then once you
Right.
start past Elkton, Maryland, on 95, they're almost there's not almost one at every exit.
Yeah, but I think the Waffle House was around just as long as Howard Johnson. But Howard Johnson had the burgers, and I mean they served food 24/7. So I mean, I guess it was, breakfast, lunch, and dinner fare as far as something to eat.
And clam
But-
strips, that's their big famous meal. I mean,
Yeah, they were known for the clam strips, and they were also known for something else.
clam strips
it
are
was
nasty.
Orange. They were known for their orange sherbet in little metal cups, clam strips, and 28 original ice cream flavors. I do remember all the ice cream flavors because they would all have them in the on the dish.
And then
Yeah, I mean,
Baskin-Robbins came in and made 31 flavors and put them out of business.
I think they were both running concurrently.
No,
I
I
mean, I don't
understand
know. I mean, they were around since 25, but it's just kind of, I don't know. I don't, who can, maybe they just had a bad management team, but the bulk of them were franchised.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
So, I mean, a franchise is only as good as the owner. That's why, some 7-Elevens are spectacularly clean and immaculate, and others not so much.
Yeah, the other
So,
ones
I
look
mean,
like the one on The Simpsons.
Yeah, like a Quickie Mart.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just it's just
You can't even find 7-Elevens around here anymore, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, there's only a few. The Wawa cleaned their clock out here.
Right. Well, there's
Wawa cleaned broomed Cumberland Farms and Unimart right out of New Jersey.
right.
Broomed them right out. And 7-Elevens, there's only a few clinging on.
There's there's two actual companies that do the same kind of thing that are kind of want to come into this area. One is Sheets. Sheets
Well,
is
Sheets and Wawa work in cooperation with each other. From what I remember when I was in the industry, the president of Wawa sits on the board of Sheets, and the president of Sheets sits on the board of Wawa, and they do not open near each other. The only place you see Wawa and Sheets where we're at is like Lancaster, York, Harrisburg, and a couple in the Poconos. But they will not open directly across the street from each other. They'll put a couple of mile berth away from each other because they figured out these two chains, from what I've been told. Wawa will take Jersey, Delaware, Eastern PA, and Sheets takes Ohio, West Virginia, Western Pennsylvania. Royal Farms is the up and coming.
right. They're supposed to be starting to come in around here. They're supposed to be putting
They're
on
in Delaware and Maryland, and they have awesome chicken. That's
Really?
their thing. They have awesome chicken.
Now, see, I've never had.
See, Well, see, I used to travel into Delaware, so I used to go to like Rehoboth Beach, Lewis, and all that area. And when you get below, like, say, Dover, Delaware, and then into West Virginia, and of course into Maryland, Royal Farms are like Wawas are to us.
I got you. So, and there was just an article in the paper, in the local paper here, where they're supposed to put one like within 3 miles of where I live. So it'll be interesting.
A Royal Farms?
Yeah, in Paulsboro.
Yeah. Oh, check their chicken out. It's good.
Well, you know me.
Yeah.
As soon as it opens up, I'll be down there.
Yeah, because that's their niche. They're well known for their chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Wawa is, I mean, they're smart now because they're opening in Florida because they've got to build an audience. You got all these transplanted New Yorkers, New Jerseyans, Pennsylvanians, anyone from this part of the country. They got to build an audience. So I think Wawa has opened about 10 or 11.
You can do that in North Carolina and South Carolina too, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, that's probably their plan, I'm sure, eventually. But Florida is like, that's, Florida, Texas, Arizona, they're always the fastest growing states for retirees.
It was funny. They used to sell lunch meat. You go get a pound of ham and a pound of roast beef, and then all of a sudden they stopped doing all that. They just make sandwiches.
Yeah, that ship sailed.
That ship is
The
sailed.
only thing I don't like about Wawa is they botched up the whole hoagie ordering process, and now no one knows what a hoagie is, but
right.
I take that a little personally myself.
Yeah, because
having made hoagies all those years.
Right, they say, you want lettuce and tomato?
Yeah, well, that's
a hoagie, isn't it? Why would you have if you don't put lettuce, tomato, and onion on it, it's just a sandwich.
See, back in the day when you went to an honest-to-God hoagie shop or a place that made hoagies, you would walk in and you say, give me an Italian hoagie, hold the onions.
Right.
Because by definition, a hoagie had the meat, the cheese, lettuce, tomato, onions, oregano, and oil.
Right.
That's a hoagie. If you didn't like onions, you just told the person to hold the onions.
Right.
And I went in one time and said, yeah, I'll take a roast beef and provolone cheese hoagie. And he said, do you want anything on that? And I said, no, just a hoagie. And then I got it home.
It was roast beef and provolone cheese.
It was just roast beef and provolone cheese, so I bought it back. And they were like, well, you didn't ask? You said you didn't want anything on it. I said, I asked for a hoagie. Well, that's what you got. No, I got a roast beef sandwich is what I got. So that's when I found out. And then they went to the TV monitors. Well, now you got a whole generation of people that are like raised in Wawas, and they think that's how you're supposed to order a hoagie.
Right.
And it's not right.
Do you want Old Bay on that? On a hoagie?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Now, there's a certain couple things that I'm very unorthodox about my hoagies. My Italian hoagies, I want mayonnaise, not oil.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of
people used to get it like that. You would say mayo.
Right.
You would anything that you wanted added to it, you would tell them, yeah, give me an Italian hoagie with mayo.
Right.
And that was it.
But, the other hoagies, I mean, there was an American hoagie, had the Italian hoagie, but then like roast beef, turkey, and ham, I mean, there's nothing really to talk about. Now, I used to make what was called a Dagwood, which was roast beef, turkey, ham, American cheese. That's a hoagie.
Mm-hmm.
We used to call that a Dagwood because it was pretty.
Well, a regular hoagie was generally American cheese, ham,
and salami.
Right. But not the real spicy salami.
Mm-hmm.
And an Italian hoagie was gabagool, or for the Medigons out there, capicola, which just gets on my last nerves. Just like, let's mispronounce everything. Oh, do you want Italian wedding soup? Oh, you mean scatol? No, it's escarole. No, it's scatol. I'm going to have gnocchis. No, you're going to have gnocchis is what you're going to have. I love that prosciutto. You mean prosciutto? Just So, yeah, working in an Italian restaurant, I have a pretty thin skin when it comes to that.
Gabagool. You mean capicola? Do you want the hot or sweet gabagool?
Yeah.
The capicola.
Yeah, I love that capicola.
Get out.
Yeah, it'd be like the hoagie Nazi. No hoagie for you, 3 years. Por favor, I'm a little Spanish. Adios, muchacho. That show is brilliant.
I know, and there's nothing to replace it. Like I've been watching. All right, here's a cool. There's two shows that I've been. First, there's one show that I've been binge watching. I cannot any free time that I have, I've been watching this show. It's on Showtime. It's called Shameless. It has William H. Macy in it. You know who I'm talking about?
Okay, yeah. I know who he is. He was the shoveler he was in Pleasantville. He was the father in Pleasantville. Yeah.
That guy is the most amazing actor I've ever seen in my entire life.
He excels because they always cast him as like the everyman.
Well, he plays an alcoholic in this, like a degenerate alcoholic. And this guy is just one filthy scumbag through the whole show. And you end up hating him and admiring him and stuff like this. And, again, it's about a family that lives in Chicago. The mother was bipolar. She's gone. The father's a raging alcoholic. He steals money. He's always running some kind of scam. He's on disability. The aunt where they live in the house, the aunt had died. And he's still collecting the Social Security checks. Never told him that she had died for like 14 years. She died. They buried her in the backyard. Right? So it's just like one scumbag. And they got 6 kids. The youngest kid is black. Right? He says, I think she cheated on me. Oh, my God. But they find out that it's actually his kid. So he says, I guess Grandmom so-and-so Gallagher did go with a black guy or something like that. I don't know. So it's just a crazy, crazy show. They're always running some kind of scam. They're always in some kind of trouble. They're always, they have no money. They're all, I'll tell you what, you find a show and you put a dysfunctional family in there.
Right.
You've got me. I'm there. I'm watching it.
Do you know any dysfunctional people? I mean, truly dysfunctional
besides
people.
Myself?
No. You're not dysfunctional. You're just fucked up.
What's the difference?
No. I mean, because the word is thrown around so loosely now. I mean, do you know any really dysfunctional?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Now, I can't name names.
Well, no. Well,
I'm not like the bitter chink.
Yeah, it's Fred and Tom Hemslaw. They're really fucked up. It's like, no, you're not. I'm not asking you to do that.
Right. No, but I did know some families that were, screwed up, like really screwed up, like almost shameless screwed up. Right. So I think there's 4 or 5 seasons. I can't tell how many seasons there are. I'm like halfway. I'm 3/4 of the way through season 3, and I've only started watching it like 2 weeks. It's on Showtime.
Okay.
It's an amazing show. Now, there's a new show that's coming up. It's called Timeless. It's coming on NBC in October.
Oh, is that the time travel
It's the
thing?
time travel one. I'm really psyched to watch this because it goes back and it talks about real historical events. Like the first one they go back to is the Hindenburg. Right?
Or I assume so because I've seen the coming attractions for that.
All right, burst into flames over here in Lakehurst, New Jersey. So I went back, and of course, through the magic of Wikipedia, I went through there, and they really say that was sabotage. They say, well, it was lightning and stuff like that, but they think it was sabotage that actually brought that down.
Well, they're really not sure.
They don't know.
It was the lead up to World War II, of course,
right.
And we wouldn't sell the Nazis helium because we kind of knew,
right?
So that's why they were relying on hydrogen. They think it might have, it ranges anywhere from just static electricity spark, which I kind of believe that was what it was because of the science behind it. And you always see those gas pumps of people igniting themselves, pumping their own gas.
True.
And they get out of the car and they touch metal and poof.
Right.
But then there is there is a case that can be made for the sabotage, but that thing was consumed so completely that, we'll probably never know. And of course, what was forensic science back in 1939? They didn't have the tools, the equipment, the science that we have now.
Yeah, but they've also went back and recreated everything to try to see how that, how they kind of think that the reason it went up so fast was because of the hydrogen, number one.
Right.
And also
that'll do it.
And the paint that was on the cloth.
Yeah, it was like an aluminum oxide or something.
Right, it just went up like a Roman candle.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was like wrapping gasoline and nitroglycerin and just like, let's see what'll happen.
Well, it's funny. It reminds me of 2 elevator stories. Back in the day when I was an elevator mechanic in my former life, I get a call, and the guy says he's getting shocked by touching the buttons. You push the call buttons. So I'm like, okay. So I walk up, and I go there, and I go, what's going on? He goes, oh, yeah, if you touch the elevator and you touch the button, you get shocked. Watch. He grabs the elevator and touches the plate and goes, ah! I'm like, he goes, go ahead, try it. I'm like,
No, I believe you.
Okay, good. You.
I'm not doing that. So I get my meter, right? And I put one part of my meter on the cab that he was touching and the other on the buttons. And sure enough, it was like 220 volts he was getting.
220 yet.
220. So anyhow, what happened was the button broke and the wire had went and laid against the
cab,
the cover of the button. Okay. So if you touched anything grounded, which the cab was grounded, you just made a direct circuit. Mm-hmm. So you
completed the circuit. Now is
exactly. That. The second one was I get called. Oh my God! I get called to this one building, and they says the lady up on the 14th floor. She keeps getting shocked by the button, the elevator button. So I'm like, okay.
Well, now wait, is it the button in the hallway?
The button in the hallway.
The elevator? Okay.
The button in the hallway. You got to touch the button in the hallway. So I'm like, all right. So I go up there. Well, you know me. I go up there. I take my meter out. Nothing. I don't see anything. So I said, do me a favor. I called down to the lobby. I said, can you tell her to meet me at the button to see? Because I can't see what's going on here. So she said, okay. So I go back upstairs. All of a sudden, I hear the door open. Here comes this lady. She's got to be 87 to 90 years old. Wow. She comes out in her pink, fluffy slippers, and here she comes. Whoosh, 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 like she's
building up a static
she's
charge.
Building up static.
Did she shit herself like the Frenchman did?
She comes up. Whoosh, whoosh. She sticks her finger out. It gets about an inch and a half away from the button.
You see the arc?
The static spark jumps from her finger to the thing, and she goes, ah! And she jumps back. She goes, see? I go, ma'am, you got to lift your feet up. I said, that's static electricity. I said, don't you get shocked around the house? She goes, all the time. I'm like, yeah, you lift your feet up. And she was like, I'm an old woman. I can't lift my feet up. I mean, she was like cross-country skiing. Whoosh.
She needs a hoverboard.
Oh, my God, it was so funny. I'm telling you, when she stuck her finger out, she got about an inch and a half away from the button, and it was like a blue spark that shot across.
Right.
I'm telling you what, I almost bit a hole in my lip. I had from not laughing. It was a funny thing.
See how angry I was about the mispronunciation of Italian food?
Yeah.
The angriest I ever saw you regarding your profession was in that episode of L.A. Law where the woman that played the curmudgeon doctor on Star Trek The Next Generation, before they booted her ass off, like they rode her out of the show and the doors opened and there was no car there, and the line was, oh, she was entangling in the wires.
She was entangled in the cables.
You were so, there's no fucking way those things were so tight you could play a tune on those goddamn things. Like
she's just like willy-nilly, like stuck hanging in the cables.
You and I and Sandy and Diane, and we went out to eat soon after that aired, and someone you saw that knew you or something came up to you and says, hey, don't even ask me about the episode. You were like so animated and upset about that.
Well, first of all, she goes walking up and the bell rings and the doors just open and there's no elevator there. And she just falls down the hoistway. Like she got sucked in. All right, so, or maybe she had her head turned and she stepped in. Well, first of all, the way the elevator works is the elevator car doors is what opens the elevator hatch doors. So the only way the doors can open is if the car is there. All right, the cab has to be there. And there's only a foot of where the clutch on the elevator car door can engage the hatch door lock and open it. So it can only be like a foot. You know, the elevator has to be there, but it could be off a foot. 6 inches up or 6 inches down.
Yeah, because if it gets, you can help people out from that.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's like all of a sudden the door, like the motor on the hatch door, open the door. It can't do that. That's why, because if the elevator gets out of step and the elevator thinks it's on the third floor, but it's actually on the fourth floor, the third floor hatch doors would open and somebody could walk in and fall down. Right. But they don't do it that way. So the car doors.
That's a bad day.
Yeah, the car doors drive the hatch doors. Now, that being said, the freight doors, the ones that go up and down, they're called vertical biparting doors. They can open with the cars not there because they have motors on them because they're so big. But, the way she did, it's like, oh, yeah, they're talking like they're going to go to lunch or something, or it's the end of the day, and all of a sudden the door opens up. I'm like, cables? And then she's like, down, and they're like, oh, my God. And then they go, oh, yeah, they're still trying to get her out. She's entwined in the cables. I'm like, entwined in the cables? They're trying to get her out. They're down there with a bucket and a squeegee trying to scrape her off the floor is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and realize that's what's going to be going on. Yeah, I remember how upset you were at that. It was just, and I never watched the show in my life.
Well, I see that
heretofore until I think I forget who it was, and they walked up and asked you this question, and you did that face that you do, like, yeah, that's the one. And it was first of all, and like you were all fired up.
Well, I love it where like Hollywood portrays elevators. Most of the stuff is nonsense.
Oh, they're like death traps if you watch
Hollywood. Well, here's the other thing. Like they say that you can climb up the inside. Like everybody thinks there's a ladder that goes from the top of the hoistway to the bottom of the hoistway. Well, there's not. I mean, I'm not saying there's no elevators that have that, but 99% of the hoistways do not have where you can climb up a ladder inside the elevator. It's just not that way.
Isn't it like another myth that there's no escape hatch in the roof because there's all kinds of crap bolted to the top of the cab?
There is a hatch that you can open. The thing is you can't open it from inside the car. It's
from the
locked.
Inside, exactly.
Right, it's locked. Yeah. So
maybe if you had a blowtorch or something.
Yeah, I mean,
you just happened to get on the elevator with a blowtorch.
Yeah, you could probably. The other one, like I said, is people get in and they go, oh, I was stuck in there and I had no oxygen left. There's a big giant hole in there with a fan, first of all, right? And then there's like vents all around the bottom. I'm like, how did you run out of air? Oh, it was like a safe in there. I'm like, no, it's not. Look, there's a 1/4-inch opening around the whole door. Look at that big giant hole in the ceiling. And look at the vents down the bottom. You'd have to breathe all the air in the world.
You're in a chimney, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
What does it mean when, like, I can't believe it. It always comes back to elevators.
I'm sorry.
But what does it mean when, no, I'm fascinated by it. Like, the elevator's going up and you're approaching your floor and the door opens up and you see it like closing that gap between like a foot until like the elevator floor is even with the floor that you want to get off on.
Well, it's called pre-opening. Yeah, and whoever came up with, well, a lot of times it's disabled because what happens is if people they'll fall either into the elevator or out of the elevator. But what they really wanted to do is those last 6 inches, if you have an elevator that comes in and it's adjusted correctly, it takes like not even a half a second for it to go to 6 inches. It comes in and stops. So when you open the door, you see movement. And then some people go, oh, the door was opening and it was still not stopped.
Well, I've seen it. It seems to me normal operation for all the elevators that I've been on. Like if it goes up like an inch, that seems to be normal. But I'm talking about like the door opens and it's like a foot off.
Well, that's a leveling issue, and it could be. And where you work, there's
no, that's exactly.
I'll tell you what,
the
heat really screws with an elevator. Heat will mess with the adjustments of the elevator and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got that sign I
saw that. It's like,
it's like ridiculous.
Shut the door. Hold the door shut on the
64 elevator.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me just do that.
Yeah, and then my thing is like, well, what if nobody's in the car and it goes up there? It's stuck.
That's just it. If someone gets down and walks off the elevator, they're not going to
How can they shut it from the inside? So it's so stupid. Exactly. So anyhow.
Right. And it's the mechanics that wrote that. That's what drives me crazy.
Right.
And then, of course, everybody else that works there breaks out their pens and pencils. And stuff. How about you just fix the damn elevator?
Yeah, how about that?
And then that got crossed out by the Sharpie, so that was the...
Well, that's a very valid question, to be quite honest with you. Very valid question. Well, the other thing I hate is like when people go over and they keep pushing the down button, like they keep pushing it like they think,
like a woodpecker,
right? Yeah. So, and the thing about it is, once you push it, it registers the call. It doesn't. It's like, oh well, they're really in a hurry on the 4th floor. Let's step it up. That doesn't happen. Here's the other thing I hate is when the people walk up with the 2 fingers down, they push the up and the down. Now they've that if you push the up and the down, the elevator's got to stop in the up direction, has to stop in the down direction. So what happens is everybody does that. That makes it take twice as long for the elevator to get to you. So it's crazy. Yeah, some of the pet peeves. Trust me, I have elevator pet peeves, tons of them.
It's just like all the jobs that I like selling cars. That was hilarious. There's a lot of
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, you, my friend, could almost sell services where you go with people into a car dealership and negotiate for them.
I've done that.
I know you've done that, but you could almost be like an elevator. You could start a business as a car sales consultant where you could go with them, do some work the best deal, and then they give you a fee for doing it, whatever it is.
I think there are people that do that.
It's amazing.
But it's if you're selling anyone that's selling cars for a living right now, they'll know what I'm talking about. If you're selling brand new cars, it's impossible to like make a really decent living doing that unless you're selling some really high end stuff like BMWs or because they don't drop their price for nothing. But if you're selling domestic cars, the internet has ruined that whole industry.
Well, think about all the industries that the internet has ruined.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Yeah, we were talking about when I went to Carlisle, okay? I've gone 26 years in a row. And when I first started going there, it was like going to Woodstock, especially on Saturday. They did the parade, and you saw celebrity judges. GM engineers are there. I enjoy it a lot. But years ago when I first started going, on Saturday, you could not move. You were literally elbow to elbow. Your chest was like right up against somebody's back and somebody's was right up against you in the back. And you just moved that way. That's how it was. It took you forever to move around and get anywhere. And it's hot because it's always hot there and everything. Well, in recent years that the crowds have gotten thinner and thinner and thinner. And the reason for that, one of the reasons, the chief reason, is what makes those shows possible are the vendors who bring crates and crates and crates of used parts. Mm-hmm. So like, in other words, I have my 75 Vet. Well, let's say I was restoring that and I needed original parts or I needed something that fits a 75. Years ago, you went there and you saw a swap guy that had those parts and you spent a half an hour to an hour plowing through buckets and boxes of all the parts that he had to find what you were looking for. You don't need to do that no more because now all these guys have digitized their inventory. They have a website and they set up under a pitch tent. They bring popular stuff with them. And if you want to, I'm looking for a control tie rod for a 75 Corvette. Oh, I don't have anyone with me here, but here's my sale. We're having a show special. If you order it today, I'll give you free shipping. And now these guys don't have to like bring the parts that they had to. What that also did is it keeps the crowds from coming that used to come in also. It's just one of those things. I mean, has the internet made our lives easier? Yeah, in some ways, but it's also destroyed a lot of jobs and everything. Like when I was selling Cadillacs, this guy showed up in the showroom and he whips out, I walk up to him and hi, how you doing? And he whips out this piece of paper and he had an invoice, an actual invoice printed from General Motors from a service that he printed off the internet. And he said, I want this car and I know this is what you paid for it. So that's what I want to pay. Where am I going now?
Right.
So, there goes your commission. So when you sell a car like that, and no one feels bad for a car salesman, I understand that. But I made $50 on that. That's it.
Right.
Where before, I mean, you could make 25% on what you hold. So, selling a used car, you can still make money, but you can't make any real money selling brand new cars anymore. That ship has sailed. And friends of mine that are still in the business, they predict the day's going to come where there's not even going to be any car salesmen. They're just going to you're going to go to GM or Ford or Toyota and you're going to pick out a model that you like and they'll tell you, oh, it's here in Philadelphia, and you go there and you just buy it there, and it's all done.
Right. Well,
it's like buy it from Amazon.
I'm telling you right now. I mean, when was the last time? I can't remember the last time I went to a store and bought something. Everything that I usually buy, I buy online and have it delivered. Mm-hmm. My groceries, I buy my groceries online. They get delivered right to the house.
Yeah, there's another like getting back. I don't know what the term is. Maybe but it's a big problem now. Like, you go to Best Buy, say, or anywhere, and you go and I'm interested in this digital camera, and you get the salesman. He demonstrates everything. He shows you the features and everything. He's like, all right, well, thanks a lot. And he's going to buy. He says, no, I'm going to order from Amazon because they're going to get it cheap. So, as a former employer, that would chap my ass because I'm paying that guy.
Right.
You know, whatever it is that I'm paying him. Plus, I'm giving him benefits. You know, and really that's theft of services. But no one sees it that way because, and I know I'm pissing up a rope here because I know just about probably everyone does that now.
Sure. Well, again, today, you went out and bought a mixer, and we tried to get your mixer working before the show. And the problem was that you needed a couple different cables and stuff you don't have. But everything you bought from Amazon. And you're there, and I'm here, so we're like 25 miles apart. And I'm looking at your mixer. I bring it up through a Google search of an image, and I'm looking at your mixer, and I'm like, okay, well, this port, the one right next to the headphone port, look at that one. That cable's got to go there, and that's got to go into the other thing. And
diffusing a bomb, as you put it.
Yeah, Here's the issue. It's like, okay, all right, it doesn't work. All right, so I'm going to help you fix it. Okay, so now I'm sitting there and you go, I got the input to the input and the output. Okay, shut up. All right, so what I want you to do is do exactly what I tell you, just like fusing a bomb, all right? If I tell you to take this cable and put it there, take that cable and put it there. So I go, okay. So I said, okay, yeah, okay. And then you start talking again. I'm like, stop talking. Stop telling me. Just do what I tell you. So
shut up and listen.
Do what I tell you. Good God. And
yeah, but don't you find, buying, if you know what you're buying from Amazon, but I don't know, maybe it's me. I just don't have the balls to go in and waste somebody's time.
I wouldn't
like
do that either.
You know,
I wouldn't go to a store, look at everything.
That's lower than whale shit.
Have them go to a camera store and go over there and look at it and try it out, or go to, I don't know, Walmart or something, have them unlock the case. Let me see it. Let me look at it. Okay, thank you. Never mind. And then just go buy it from Amazon. At that point, I'm already there.
Right.
That's just a waste of time to go home and then, have it in my hand. Basically, the price at Walmart is going to be basically the same price you're getting from Amazon.
I know there's a term for that. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
But it happens all the time. And I imagine it's just going to get worse. Well, like buying a car. We used to call that in the car industry. The guy was a stroker. It was just like, you knew the guy wasn't. In fact, my job was to get rid of the people from another land because people from another land don't drive Chevrolets or Cadillacs. So
what are they doing there then?
People, they're stroking you. They're wasting your time. That's what they're doing. It's just like, So people from another land generally drive Toyotas. And if they're well-to-do people from another land, they drive Lexuses. Right. Very rarely do you see people from another land in a BMW or a Mercedes. That's their thing, Toyota and Lexus. So I was like brand new, and there was people from another land in there, and everyone was like, I don't want to go out there because they're just going to waste my time. And I was, well, what's going on? So there's people out there. So I looked out in the parking lot, and there's a whole contingent of people from another land. So I said, I'll take care of this. So I straightened my tie, and I walked out there. And, I says, hi, can I help you? I says, yes, we're looking around. And I says, you seem to be hovering around this car. Well, this is very nice. Yes, it is. No big giveaway there.
Very, very nice.
And I was just like, so what is the price on this? And there it is right there. And I just pointed to the sticker price. I said, that is the sticker price. Right. Sticker is quicker. What do you, I said, look, we both know how this is going to work. I says, I'm going to give you my rock bottom best price. And you're never going to believe that it's my rock bottom best price. So let's start here and work down to the price point that you want to pay. And if we can do it, we got a deal. And then it says, it says, and then they left.
Right.
And they says, well, how did you know to handle it like that? How do I know? It's because I had to go through 40 of those people just to sell my business. So I'm pretty acclimated on how to handle people from another land. Well, unbeknownst to me, I wound up getting the job as the people from another land broomer. So I would be like somewhere, and like it would come over the intercom, like, Deuce, come to the showroom. Deuce, come to the showroom. I would go in there, and I would think there's going to be a customer, and it says, there you go. You know what to do.
You know what to do.
I'm on it. Because it's a shame that you have to say that, but this is the reality, folks. If you work for commission, if you get someone to waste your time like that for hours and hours, and you're watching all your coworkers sell cars and you're stuck, you just got to learn how to broom these people.
Got to get them out.
That's what you had to do. That's it. You had to get. It's all about turns.
Tell the story. I forget the Mahesh story.
Oh, when my uncle was selling his business, and he sold the gentleman's first name was Mahesh, and Mahesh and his wife were very, very nice people, and they really, really were. They're very educated. He was an architect, and she was a nurse, I believe. But anyway, he worked at an architectural firm. So my uncle called up his office where he worked, and he says, "Yes, I'm looking for Mahesh." And the receptionist says, "Well, do you have a last name for that?" My uncle says, "How the hell many Maheshes do you have over there?" Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just so used to saying that. He was the only Indian there. So I'm just like, how the hell many Maheshes do you have in that place?
Oh, so funny.
It was funny. But, in my last business, I dealt with a lot of people from another land. And, overall, they're pretty great people. They will take a chance on new things. The worst customer that I had was a white guy that owned a liquor store. By far the worst. They wouldn't even cut. They would stick their head out of their office. "What do you want?" I was, "Oh, hi. Go away. I'm not interested in that." At least, people from another land do take a chance. And if it doesn't work, they'll just sell it at a discount and blow it out of their store and get what they can get.
Right.
So, if it wasn't for the people from another land, I would have probably starved to death from my commission. I would have.
So there's good and bad from,
Yeah. They just don't buy Chevys or Cadillacs. You don't want to see them in that setting, but, if you're in a Toyota or a Lexus dealership, game on. You're going to sell a car. It's like, all right.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's wrap up this. On that note, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you very much for listening to the Brand X podcast. And, hey, listen, I want you to do me a favor, because we're not getting any iTunes reviews. And I don't know what are we doing wrong here, Deuce? Do you think we bring the funny? Do you think we're entertaining?
Yeah, I would like to think so. But if we're not, I would like to have some constructive criticism.
Yeah, tell us. I don't care. Give us a 1-star review if you want to. Go on over to iTunes or go to brandxpodcast.com/iTunes and subscribe to the show and go over and give us a rating and review and tell us what you think and whether we suck the big one or we're doing a good job. We'd like to hear from you. You can always get in touch with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/BrandXPodcast, and the Twitter and Instagram. You can always go over to brandxpodcast.com/brandxcon.
Say that again.
brandxpodcast.com/contact. You can go over there and check us out. And thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
You sure will. Have a great one.
You okay over there? A lot of rumbling around. I didn't know, the head's moving and bobbing over there. I didn't know what was going on.
Coughing spell.
Oh, I got you. So are you still dealing with that, the coughing spell, or is that pretty much over?
Oh, that's over.
Or just got the beer going down the wrong pipe?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyhow, I got a chance.
It's okay, I'll survive.
Well, I'm glad. It took us a long time to get this podcast started. I hate to lose you now. Like 4 years, and the guy dies on episode 17.
We're all in. No, I'm good.
All right.
That's it. We're just getting into it.